I don't honestly know exactly where to begin, because I could go back and probably start at when I re-signed, when I was out the door and I had my mind made up and I wasn't going to re-sign, and then I had this meeting with Vince, and I wouldn't say he convinced me to re-sign. I would say I talked myself into giving it the old college try. And I'm in Boston. I'm talking to Vince about re-signing. He says, "Oh, we really need you. I'll give you this. I'll give you that." I say, "I want this." He says, "Fine, you can have that." I'd already been approached because, I mean, you got to understand, after I did that promo in Vegas, everyone calls it the pipe bomb, and I despise that word now because everyone just refers to promos as pipe bombs now. Right. It's very weird.
I get it.
I'm talking to Vince. And I tell him that since that promo, we've gotten more mainstream attention. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff. Everyone wanted to interview me, whether it was like GQ magazine, on the cover of USA Today, and like all this weird shit. And I had legitimate companies approaching me about wanting to just give me money to sponsor me. Because obviously UFC is all the rage, and guys wear fight shorts and they have shit all over their shorts, and they get paid a ridiculous amount of money to promote these companies. So I had a pretty big money deal on the table, and I went to Vince and I was like, "Yeah, so okay, this is gonna be a new CM Punk, and when I do things new, I like to kind of new hairstyle." New look. Maybe I'll switch to fight shorts because then I can have sponsors, and these guys are already in place. And I told them my idea, said I wanted to do this sponsorship thing, and I felt like I deserved it. I got all these new eyes on the product, and people were fucking going banana about it. And he says, "Nope, you can't do that." Sponsors for Raw would get mad. The other wrestlers would get mad. This, that. We had a conversation. It wasn't my hill to die on, so I let it go. A year later, Brock Lesnar comes back, and the motherfucker has sponsors. Well, he had pre-existing sponsors. I know that, and then I didn't get it, and then Brock gets it, and without an explanation from Vince, and of course, then I go to him and I go, "Hey, that was my idea. I wanted to do that," and Vince always just ha ha ha, yeah, well, and he tries to blow smoke up your ass, right. But I'm not one of those guys that's going to be like, no, I'm the guy that goes, "No, you're blowing smoke up my ass." Like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? And then if the difference is he's a superstar and I'm not, then let me go. That was always what I said. I said, I'm going to prove to you that I am exactly everything that I say that I am, and I am who I know I can be. I just need the machine to get behind me. And then boom. You know what I mean? I was the first guy. And nobody since has outsold John Cena in merchandise. I did that. I'll give you another example. Yeah. My friend Chael's fighting in Chicago for UFC, and I already talked to all of them, and they're totally cool with the idea. I'm going to walk him to the Octagon, and tomorrow's the Royal Rumble, so it'll get some last-minute buys. And whether Chael wins or loses, no offense to Chael, nobody's going to be talking about him. They're going to be talking about the WWE champion walking him to the Octagon. Oh, my God, Phil, no, we can't do that. That's barbaric. Somebody's going to die. And then I had to remind him, well, I don't know if you remember Owen Hart or not, because he sort of died in your ring. He said somebody was going to die in the Octagon. He was distancing himself from such a horrible, barbaric product. And I reminded him how horrible and barbaric pro wrestling is, and he was just like, no. And then he was also appalled. Did you know that they're going to have women fight in the Octagon soon? And I was like, yeah, and it's the fucking coolest thing in the world, and it's going to be the hottest fucking thing. You'll see. So he tells me I can't do that. And I felt, damn, that it's such an opportunity for the company. It's just a spotlight. It's more promotion. It's more eyes on the product. It's my hometown. Place would be going crazy for me. And he says no. And then the next day or the next week, Triple H walks Mayweather to the fucking ring. And I'm like, oh, okay. I get it. I'm learning my lesson. It's easier to ask forgiveness and permission. Next time, I'm not going to ask. And those are just two examples of two cool things. I've been offered television shows, movies, the chance to do stunt work, a number of different outside projects, half of which I can't even remember right now because I've been offered things and then I go to the office like a good little soldier and then they tell me I can't do it. And then 2 weeks later, John Cena's doing it. The same thing, the same exact thing. I'll give you an example. I was the champ, and this is maybe 2 years ago. It was around this time. They wanted, oh, hey, Triple H comes up to me. Hey, the studio wants you in a movie. And I was like, oh, cool. They're lame as fuck, but you know what I mean? It might get me like some sort of a credit, and I can, you know, it's something to work with. It's a new experience in case I want to pursue acting after my wrestling career. And I would get house shows off. And like that's right around the time I was like, fuck yeah, house shows off, because I tore my knee up working Cena in September at Night of Champions. So it's all set. Yeah, it's 12 rounds 2, I think. They tried to put me in movies before where I flat out refused. They tried to offer me movies when I was trying to re-sign, and it was a condition of, oh, you can only do this if you re-sign. And I was like, your movie sucks. Why would I re-sign for this? You know, I'll re-sign if you can make me Casey Jones in a Ninja Turtle movie. But so I agree to do it, and then we're going back and forth. I'm signing these papers, and then Hunter tells me the dates, the shooting schedule, and then I go, that's the European tour. He goes, no, it's not. I said, no. Come on. I've been on 30 European tours, which means you've probably been on like 90 to 100. It's the same time every year. It's 2 weeks after WrestleMania, and it's 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. No, I checked. It's good. Hunter, I'm telling you, it's the European tour. Like, I'm the champ. Does Vince want me to miss that? I'm totally fine with missing a European tour. Fuck yeah. But, and like, that was the thing. When I was the champion, I was very much in like I got to lead this locker room, and I got to do this, and I got to lead them by example. So like, you know, I did every appearance. I did everything Cena did, to put it in perspective, because people, you know how much John does. I did everything he did. They just don't advertise it. I mean, it sounds shitty to complain. I did as many Make-A-Wishes as he did, and they just don't advertise anybody else doing a Make-A-Wish. Occasionally here and there, you'll be like, oh, Randy Orton did a Make-A-Wish. Mm-hmm. Everybody does them. They just seen as the poster boy. Hunter's like, it's not the European tour, but okay, well, all right, let me double check, and I'll get back to you. The next day, it's announced on the internet, Randy Orton starring in
Marine 2?
Whatever. No. 12 rounds 2.
13 rounds?
Yeah. So I call up Hunter and I go, you couldn't have called me and told me, you know? And he's like, well, I told you I was going to try to get him to switch the schedule, but they couldn't. So, you know, we just took Randy was the second choice. And I was like, don't you think you could have called me? And I didn't have to read it on the internet. And that's how they are. I love my fans. And the ones that want an explanation, I'm giving it to them. But the ones that were like, fuck you, and they call me, I get a lot of, you're a quieter on Twitter, because they don't know how to spell Twitter. Nothing I do or say is going to make them happy. And, you know, more power to them. They have the power to tweet, and I have the power to block them. And that, you know, that when you get down to the business of it and the dollars, this is a business. And I know what I'm worth. And WWE's job almost was to undermine what anybody's worth. If somebody is if my true worth was $8 million a year, WWE does not want to pay me $8 million a year, because they still need to profit. So they're going to be like, no, we're going to pay you $500,000 a year, you know? And then since it's the only game in town, and half the people who work there were kids like myself, like you, who grew up loving it and watching it, they eat a lot of shit. Because, oh, this is my dream job, and I don't want to get fired, and I don't want to make this person mad, and I better shake this person's hand, and I better do this, and I better make sure I do this. And pro wrestling is just the weirdest fucking business in the world. They want you to be this character 24/7, but then if you're caught being mean to somebody on Twitter, they will admonish you. It's just fucking weird. And that place should be fucking happiest place to work, and they use that as like this bizarre mind fuck, you know? Oh, just go out there and have fun. It's like, fuck you, this place sucks. And on top of that, you're not fucking paying me nearly enough to do this fucking shit. You're not. And I don't care anybody out there's like, oh, you made millions. Yeah, I should have made fucking 10. Period. That's the fucking way it is. For how hard I worked and how I was never fucking at home, Yeah, I knew this network was coming out, and for months I was asking everybody, hey, so WrestleMania is probably like $70 in HD, and now you're selling it for $10.99 or $9.99. At the time you had to buy like the 6-month thing, but I felt like I was the only one asking questions. I had guys like Randy asking me, like, hey, what happens? And I was like, I don't know. I ask, and they just, Vince, he just laughs. Well, we haven't figured that out yet. And I was going, shouldn't you think you should figure that out before I work on that pay-per-view so you can pay me accordingly? WWE doesn't do anything to protect the wrestlers. They do things to protect themselves. And that sounds really harsh. And I stated earlier that I don't want to come off as like bash WWE, but they let everybody know that they're doing all these fantastic things for concussions for the boys. They do it so it looks good on them in the public. The NFL is getting fucked in the ass because there is a union for the football players, and the union is saying, you need to pay these guys this much money for medical, for past injuries, for whatever. And the NFL is doing it. The NFL is paying out the ass, and Vince doesn't want to do that. So they put all these things in place, like, oh, look, we're doing all this, we're doing all that. I got a concussion in the Royal Rumble. It's pretty goddamn obvious. I knew I had a concussion. Everybody knew I had a concussion, and they're like, we want you to take this test. And I was like, your test is bullshit. I took the test while texting you and listening to my headphones, and I, quote unquote, passed with flying colors. But then they were like, oh, we want you to go to the ring and run the ropes. And I was like, but I just passed your test. They're like, yeah, but we still think you have a concussion. I was like, so your test is worthless. I'm not going out in the fucking ring like a 2-week rookie to run the ropes in front of everybody. Let's just call it now. I was doing this weird stubborn thing where I was like, I'm fine, I can work, because that's the way I always been, and that's what they instill in you. Because if I didn't work, I'd get punished. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I never had a break. That's why I talked earlier about, yeah, I'll do your movie, because weekends off sounded fucking awesome. And I wouldn't even have had weekends off. I would have been doing the movie, but I would have been throwing myself at the ground. I was beat up. I already needed a knee surgery at that point, but I was the champion. So I was like, got to keep going, got to keep going, got to keep going. And I told Vince that I need this knee fixed. I'll do it after I drop the title to Rock. But I was still actively trying to convince him that dropping the title to The Rock was not the right thing to do. Or that even if I did that, a 3-way with me, John, and Rock was the way to go for WrestleMania. Or let me keep the title, I'll wrestle Taker. I think we counted it out, and it would have been day 500 of the title. And there was like a bunch of cool different scenarios. But, dude, I remember being excited when on a European tour after the WrestleMania where I wrestled Ray, that my elbow every night locked up at like a 45-degree angle on the bus. And I would be like, I can't move it. I can't bend it either direction, but 3 inches. Like, we would do these exercises where I would like hold something heavy, like maybe like a hammer, and try to like relax my arm to try to like dangle it, and then they would straighten it, and then they would tape it. And I was wrestling like that, like every night in Europe, overseas. You took me to get the laser eye surgery right after my elbow surgery, because I was like, huzzah, yeah. I'm going to get my eyes fixed too, because I have all this time off. I got surgery, and then Vince called me like Friday. I was like, oh, I heard surgery was a success. I said, yeah, it's great. I'm going to, rehab, and I'll be back before you know it. Well, actually, I'm gonna have them send you some travel right now, because just your elbow hurt. We can have you cut promos. So I was already back on the road after X amount, like 5 days. I wanted to show them that I was the best at this job, like easily. Like, even with my arm in a sling, I'll go cut promos, and nobody's gonna be able to fucking touch me. I get that elbow surgery, and I'm right back on television, and I'm right back at it, and I'm scared that I'm going to have a blood clot and die, because that's what happened to Chris Candido. I remember them when I was supposed to go back to Birmingham to get cleared before I came back to wrestle for my elbow. One day I was just at TV, and it was the same thing. I was just like, I'll just probably cut a promo. And then Michael Hayes comes up to me and he goes, all right, you're working so-and-so. And I was like, no, I'm not. I just got this laser eye surgery. I don't want anybody fucking up my eyes. And he's like, well, you really should have told somebody. And I was like, told them what? My elbow. And he goes, no, I just checked. They said you're cleared. I was like, I haven't even gone to Birmingham to see Dr. Andrews yet. What do you mean I'm cleared? Well, you got to talk to them. So then I talked to Dr. Raymond, and Dr. Raymond's like, no, I just called him. I told him how you were. He said, okay, he cleared you. And I was like, what kind of witch doctory bullshit is that? Like, I'm going to go see him before I fucking wrestle. Book that shit. I am not wrestling tonight. And it was the debut of Nexus, and I remember it well because I still had, hey guys, laser eye surgery. But I couldn't tell any of those guys because they tried to hide the whole fucking Nexus angle from me and Gallows, even though we knew something was up. So when they're beating me up, some asshole was sticking his fingers in my fucking eyes, and I just started fucking smacking people, and Gallows was like, what do we do? And I'm like, just start beating him up. And he started beating up fucking Ryan Reeves, and Reeves was like, no, we're supposed to go over. So I was very mad somebody poked me in the eye. So let's talk about me being the champion and me putting all this pressure on me buying into I'm the champion and it's pro wrestling and it's tradition and what would Harley Race do and like all this stuff. And I made every show and I worked my ass off every show and I tried to make every guy I wrestled with. And I have a lot of fond memories of working with a lot of guys like, Del Rio. I had great matches with Daniel Bryan. I'm trying to think. It really seemed like there was never really a place for me in that company. There's 26 fucking writers that you don't know who they are and they've never been in a real fight in their life. And then they're writing stuff for you. And if you make them mad, I guarantee you, they're like, well, I don't like that guy. I'm not going to write stuff for him. And like, so, you're fucked either way. But, like, I wasn't even hot at that point. You know what I mean? I was doing the SES stuff, and I was looking around like, this is the best stuff ever. Right. Shouldn't they be trying to make money with everybody instead of just one person?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember telling Vince, like, hey, we should ride this to Mania, or if I have to drop the title to Rock, let's do a three-way. To me, it was always about what's next. Who am I working with next? Because if you're not working with anybody next, and that's a big problem with that place, is they have no plans going forward for anybody. I think when they call a meeting, Vince will probably like, what's next for Cena? Because that's all he cares about. And I think that's the wrong way to do business. But I was always trying to set myself up to work with somebody else. I didn't want to turn heel. Vince came to me and was like, Rock's coming back and he wants to work a bad guy. And you're the champ. So it was either I turn heel or I drop the title to Daniel Bryan. And I was like, well, I would like to work Rock. That sounds challenging. Let's, well, you'd have to turn heel. And I was like, all right, well, I'd rather be a heel than a babyface anyway, even though I'm making these sweet checks, which are going to get cut in half because of merch sales. But I was like, and then he told me, he goes, I'll tell you what, Phil, you do this for me and I'll owe you one. And I was like, sweet, great. And to me, at the time, the goal was still WrestleMania main event. So I turned heel. Not the biggest sacrifice, but still a sacrifice when you're babyface and you're making like John Cena merch money and you're beating him in merch sales. Yeah, to say, no, I'm going to be a bad guy now and, 5-year-old Johnny and Timmy aren't going to want to buy your shirt anymore, that's a thing. So I did that, and then that's when I started getting, like, super beat up. That's when I tore my knee up against John. I kept asking what was going on for Mania. Vince kept very disappointingly telling me that it was going to be the rematch between Cena and Rock, and I was just like, that's going to be awful. How about we do this? And I was obviously, I guess if people want to call me a politician, I was trying to politic my way into the main event, but it wasn't like, let me beat everybody. It was, hey, let's do a three-way. It'll be elimination. Have somebody pin me in fucking 5 minutes. I don't care. And then I'll be able to be like, I did the main event of WrestleMania, and I'll be able to move on. Fuck it. It won't be such a hang-up for me anymore. It won't be such a mind fuck. No, The Undertaker needs somebody to work, and I think you're the guy to do it. And I was just like, okay, but after that, what happens? And he was like, I don't know. What do you want to do? I was like, all right. And I don't think he asks a whole lot of people what they want to do. And since I was turning heel, they again went back to, we want to put a heater with you. So, and this, I don't know. This will probably blow some people's minds, and then some people will be like, "Oh, you're full of shit." But I don't fucking care either way. The Shield was my idea.